Hello and welcome to another episode of the Petey Performance Podcast. Today's episode of the podcast is a conversation with Rotherham United's striker, Georgie Kelly. Georgie has had a good couple of seasons with the Millers. He scored a famous goal to take them up into the championship at the back end of last season, and he's just finished a season in the championship where they managed to stay up, which was a big success and was a talking point for us throughout the conversation. We also talked about GAA and his background in GAA and his love for the GAA, as well as being a bit of a late developer and what that's given him as an athlete. We touched on his mindset, we touched on his background growing up, and then the importance of education as a footballer. And then we talked about the differences between different changing rooms, the differences between the League of Ireland and League One and Championship as well. So really broad conversation with a very, very intelligent young man and a great footballer. I hope you all enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, please remember to like it, share it, and send it. Georgie Kelly, welcome to the Petey Performance Podcast. We had a fantastic conversation off air there and a very broad conversation. So I'm really excited about this conversation as well. Firstly, you're down in Dublin today. Do you want to let everybody know why you're in Dublin?
I'm in Dublin today. First of all, thanks for having me on. Delighted to be here. I'm in Dublin today, going to the Bows match tonight. I'm commentating, co-commentator tonight at Bows in Derry City. So it'll be a good one.
Is that something that you've done before?
Never. So it could be a complete disaster. This Donegal accent, and I apologise in advance. I can kind of ramble and people will be like, what's he saying? So I don't know how that could go now on commentary tonight. We'll see.
But I've heard you on podcasts in the past and you're very well spoken. So are you seeing it as an opportunity or are you a little bit nervous about it?
No, I'd be nervous about it at all, God. But I also wouldn't really see it as an opportunity. I couldn't see myself going down that kind of TV side. It wouldn't be a lot of players do that in GAA and in soccer. They see that as the path that they want to go. I wouldn't be huge on that. Like, for example, Roy Keane there, right, annoys me because to be successful in that gig there, you have to be controversial, like, and that's what gets ratings. Everyone loves it, and he's doing that deliberately. Like, he's saying these things deliberately because he knows that's what everyone loves it. It gets social media. He's flying next day. You see all the videos, and I wouldn't be a big fan of that. Like, the fact that you need to be, authentic to grow. You know what I mean? But anyway, I would stay away from it. Like,
I think though with him, there's an element of authenticity to it. By the looks of things, but he just goes to the far end of the spectrum with it. So he convinces himself that he believes what he's saying, but he's also like, I'm going to go so far down this side of it that one, it's going to get clicks, it's going to get replayed, everybody's going to love it, everybody's going to be watching Sky Sports, and two, it might piss off Jamie and it might piss off Gary or whatever, and it'll be good TV.
And that's why it works, because it's his personality too. He knows deep, even if it's not conscious, he knows what he's at. Like, he knows how to play that game, I think. But there hasn't been many in the GAA yet. That's kind of.
There is.
So suppose Joe Brawley was supposedly kind of a little bit fiery, wasn't it? But she's got the sack now.
But even before internet, like, there was Eamon Dunphy, like, do you know?
Yeah,
so it's going on a long time.
Yeah.
And then in rugby, you have Matt Williams as well, who, from my perspective, and I'm probably more rugby focused because that's my background, but like, it seems from what he's saying half the time, he doesn't believe what he's saying.
Right, it's more authentic than
It means that he stays relevant. Now, that might be unfair of me to say. Obviously some of his opinions are accurate, but I actually spoke on the solo podcast about contrarians, and sometimes I find when I'm coaching a contrarian, they often will say something opposite to somebody else for the sake of argument's sake and just create an argument because they love doing that. But they also, at the same point, they do convince themselves that they believe 100% what they're saying. It's just their personality. So that, apologies to Matt Williams, that could be just his personality. Maybe he's just contrarian. And if we were all just agreed, it'd be boring.
No crack, Yeah, no, interesting.
So
you're going to rabbit hole already. Apologies.
No, I'll go
question.
two people rambling, but maybe that's something you'll take into tonight.
Yeah,
You'll go in
we'll
with a
see.
fresh perspective. Obviously, coming into the footballing or the soccer sphere with a GAA background, do you think sometimes you see the game slightly differently to others?
Potentially, yeah. I don't know if you know, like the type of player that I am as well. It's a little bit more rough and ready, physical, to try and win headers, get in the box, and you're dealing with centre halves. You're trying to fight centre halves. They're pulling and grabbing at you. So that brings me back to the days playing GAA. I would have played full forward, like, and you get an old centre half at intermediate level will be grabbing and pulling and swinging at you. So it translates, like it definitely translates, especially to my position. Maybe not others, you know what I mean, that are a little bit more technical, but it's helped me, like,
And I know you've had a lot of niggles over the season, but you have had opportunities to play in the Championship as well and in League One, obviously. There are a lot of rough and ready centre backs as well, like, so I'm sure it comes in handy.
Well, you need it, like, and it's what I found. What it helped me massively was with aggression. And it's very hard to build aggression. Like in the gym, you can get big, and lads can put on size, and you can come up against centre half who's big and a big figure, like 6'5". But if he's not aggressive, it's a waste of time. Like it's very hard to build that. And the GA helped me there. Like, you need that little bit of bite. Like, I don't know. You do with players all the time. Do you think you can build that, or is that innate?
I think
built in.
I think through repeated exposure, you can get people more comfortable with the physical aspect of the sport. So I think part of it is innate, and you can have an aggressive personality and you can be aggressive on the field and want to be aggressive. But the players that are timid, if you expose them progressively to more physical scenarios and try to get them to be more aggressive in the tackle due to the constraints of the drill or the game that they're doing, if you do that over time, it'll either make them or break them. So the ones that don't want to do it will fall off and they'll say, I'm not interested in this. But you may pick up the middle of the pack and they may become more comfortable in a physical scenario on the field. So therefore, their stress as a result of that reduces, and then they're more inclined to be more aggressive on the field.
Yeah, more open to it then. Like,
I know that's broad, but as an example, the GA team that I work with, in comparison to the other teams in Dublin, we would be quite small,
right? Physically,
in stature, yeah. And the first year I went in, there was a chat that maybe we were out muscled or we weren't physical enough. So in the preseason, early season of the next year, we had a heavy emphasis on contact conditioning and wrestling games, which was useful from my background in rugby to bring over. And the lads absolutely loved it. And then what we saw on the field was the smaller players were more inclined and more keen to get into double up situations in the match situation and try and get the tackle and win the tackle. But also as a result of being more aware of how to manipulate somebody's body weight, even though they're not going to be pulling and dragging if the ref's looking, it did transfer slightly to the pitch. Now we're inferring that it transferred, but it seemed to transfer. So maybe there's something missed in soccer there.
Yeah, because it is a skill. And you think it's trainable. Yeah, it's an interesting area. Yeah, I don't.
Is there any element of that you do in training, like where you are doing a little bit of contact?
Nothing like that. Even training, I find, and maybe it's just the clubs I've been at, but it's all very similar, very technical, all small-sided games, small little boxes. I don't know if you've seen much soccer training, but that tends to what it's oriented around. There possibly is a gap there for trying to work on that more physical side of things, even if it is duels and dealing with long balls. And you would never, like, even we would potentially be like a long ball team, right? But even in training, you're never hitting long balls and trying to fight centre halves. You're all playing little passes and boxes, and so yeah, maybe
that's what I'm thinking as well, because obviously you're one of the teams with the most crosses in the league, like, and you do play more of a long ball game and a championship style game, even though the game is changing now a lot and everybody's trying to play the same brand of football. But we were just speaking about how to stand out from the crowd and be slightly different. You have to do something slightly different. So if everybody's just training like Pep is telling everybody to train, you're just going to be a worse version of Pep's Man City. So maybe it is going in a different area is going to be a benefit.
Yeah, potentially. I even seen, I was just thinking that this morning, I seen Mourinho like he's revitalized Rome with that a similar kind of style. They're probably going to get to that Europa League final again. They won it last year. I was just thinking, they're like, you're talking about contrarian, like if you go against the grain, like there is opportunities there, and we have done that, I suppose, a little bit. Like so many teams fall into that pitfall of playing out from the back when it only probably works at that elite level at the top. Like I've seen so many teams in the championship do it, and it plays into our hands. Like I know people describe us like a long ball side, but we're a running side. Like we'd get after teams, we'd press high, and when we get it, we just go direct and cross, and that's our style. Like, but it's worked for us. Like and it's also built around like our style is potentially like our manager's an intelligent guy. Our style is probably built around our budget. When you don't, bigger teams, bigger budgets, better players, more technical, it can be more. When we have the lowest budget in the league, I imagine, or very close to it. You need to adapt, and we've done that then, and we've survived. And I wouldn't be surprised now if, like, as we grow now, our style changes a little bit, like, so it's all contextual. It all depends. You know what I mean? Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I'll let him know that you said that.
But to talk about like standing out from the crowd, being a little bit contrarian or different in how you play the game, is that to your benefit that you're a big physical centre forward? Because I know it's talked about on Sky Sports News every weekend that there's going to be less and less of those players coming through. So do you think that is to your benefit, that when you come up against the centre half, as you said, you present a completely different opposition than they're used to playing against?
Yeah, potentially they haven't died out fully. Big centre forward, you still like Harry Kane's a big fella. You still get big strikers, dependent big number nines, like but you're right, they probably have gone out of the game a little bit. Teams have been playing false nines and even playing, I remember Spain done it, playing centre mids up top, and so they can drop in and link it. But there will always be, if you're a goal scorer, like you'll always hold a little bit of value, like luckily. So but yeah, you're right, the game changes, and it's just like it's like anything, it's like fashion, right? Things change and cycles, and they come coming in and out of fashion. Like number nines, hopefully they'll stick around. Like,
but I'm just thinking, like, whenever you watch a player like Mitrovic play, it's like the defense just can't deal with his physicality, because he's so different from everybody else.
And because a lot of them defenders they're not real defenders either. They've transitioned as well. You don't get your big John Terrys really anymore at that level. You get, your John Stones and your more stylish defender centre halves who can play, and I noticed that at even at championship level as well. Quite a lot of the times, it's nearly a little bit easier for me and my style, because you're going up against teams who want to play like Swansea, playing little fellas centre half trying to play, and it suits me a little bit better, like, than maybe League Two, League One, where it's tough, physical, rough and ready, big guys battling, like. But it's interesting, yeah, how styles makes fights, like, and it just depends. Yeah.
So to think about your style then and your own personal approach to the development of your game, do you double down on your strengths then while still focusing on the weaknesses, or over the past couple of years have you been really trying to hone your weaknesses as well?
I got a bit of advice, and a really good bit of advice actually, from a guy. If you want to make it, right, essentially he told me, if you want to stand out, you want to make it in soccer, you need to have a super strength, and you need to zone in on that super strength. Like, there's some like really beautiful footballers, great lads, but if you don't have a super strength, like mine is, I'm physical, I'll score goals, like I'll get in the box, and that has been I've just zoned in on that, like, and I've kind of probably let the other little bits of my game go a little bit, like from box to box, where I'm not as tidy and not as good. But I've zoomed in, and I've got really good at within that 6 yard box, like. And I do think I can score goals that I don't care who I'm going up against. I think I get on the end of something. And yeah, that was all based on that bit of advice, like, around build a super strength and be really good at, and you hold your value then, like. And then obviously you have to try and tidy up, and that'll be my plan now this year, to tidy up on little bits, and if I can, you never know where you can end up, but like, yeah, it's over the last couple of years, I've zoned in massively on tiny little details around these extra 1% for getting on the end of crosses, timing, reading little cues, different little tiny little things like that, and it helps massively, like.
That was going to be my question, because obviously your super strength is kind of super strength. So how do you work on that in terms of doing the extras? Because I'd imagine it's quite physically taxing to keep trying to do extras in terms of asking one of the lads to swing balls in, and even going up against an opposition or a teammate who's a defender and get them into the box. Is it more acute than that? Like, are you reading cues?
It's even finer details than that. Like, it'll be more like, this might be even too deep, but it'll be more like reading the last step of the winger, reading where the ball is. If he takes a decent touch and the ball's out in front of him, then I'm thinking this is all split. You have to. This is all like literally split second. Depending on where the ball is and where he is, and the pace he's running at, will dictate the height of the cross essentially, or the probability of him getting a higher cross. Whereas if he knocks it past someone and he's under pressure, and I know he's going to cross, it's a higher probability that it's going to be probably around the front post. So I know I'll delay, and then I'll time and get across the front post. Whereas if he takes a half a touch and he has maybe a split second extra, you're thinking, right, he's going to get a little bit more height on this, so I can fake to the front and stand. And then people just see you then nodding headers in from or scoring tap-ins, and they think, oh, look at that, he's just right place, right time. But there's tiny little things, you know what I mean? Tiny little details. And there's loads of, that's one example. There's loads of tiny little things like that I've tried to zone in on. But
I'd imagine though that the wingers have a slight bias themselves in the type of cross that they're going to put in. So are you thinking about that when you're going into game day? Who's on the wings?
Oh yeah, and that's why you're like, it's more about reps with different players then in training, and at the end of session, one day you take someone, you take the right back, then you take a winger, and because they're all different and they all prefer different types of crosses. And say I know Chio, for example, Ogbenny, I know he would, if Chio's playing, he's out wide, he's running at someone, I know depending on his little cue, what kind of touch he takes, he'll likely come inside and cross with his left, or he'll, you know what I mean, or he'll knock it by someone. If he does knock it by someone first time, he'll cross it in early, you know what I mean? So it's all player specific as well as, you know, ball specific and surf whatever, you know, surface, everything, it all, you know, it all matters, you know.
That's what I was going to think when you mentioned Chio there. I was like, well, if he's coming up against the defender, he's probably trying to go by them first. He's not going to try and loop it around them. But
yeah, there's players then that do go by, but then they'll check. And the worst type of player is, in fairness, Chio's easier to read. There's players who themselves don't know really what they're doing, and they're checking and turning it, and I'm just fucking coming and going and trying to get. It's very hard to time your run off that. Then that's why you always see certain players have better connections. You know, you see certain players have loads of assists for certain players, and it's because of timing and being able to read when he's going to cross or what he's going to do. Like,
is there a lot of active communication with those players pre-game, post-game, during the week in regards to what your matchup is and what type of ball you want to come in, or is it more free-flowing and just see what happens?
It's a little bit more free-flowing. Yeah, you don't really like telling. Well, I don't anyway. I'm only in the door there. I don't really tell Chio to cross it here, put it here. But there is a little bit of dialogue and a little bit. He knows if I'm coming on or what, and I'll mention to him like, oh, for the first couple, go really early, or go, you know, as soon as I come on or whatever. But not too much, like, you know.
There's one thing in soccer though that I find is missed in the GAA as such, is the on-pitch communication between players is more effective, I find, in soccer, in terms of you guys give one or two words to each other consistently in terms of giving your players and your teammates awareness as to where you are and what space you're in or what space you're vacating. I find that's missed in the GAA a little bit. Is that something that you found when you were playing GAA, it was a strength of yours in that, or were you just a bear in the square and just saying, lamp it in on me?
I don't know. I don't really know. But I do agree with what you're saying there, that little in soccer, it'll be like hold, or, you know, it'll be one word, little commands, and you're hearing it all the time from everyone. I don't know if it's because everyone's a little bit more together and compressed within one. Whereas the GAA, you could have huge gaps between corner forward. You know, you could have whatever, one man corner or two man corner forwards or whatever, and you could be 60 meters away, depending on who or what's happening. But maybe that's an effect. But yeah, I'm not sure. It could be something again. You're trying to relate.
Relate 100%. Well, always continual improvement, and the same thing with you as well. And you mentioned it there about staying up this year, and that was a big success for you guys. That was your focus for the year. So like, are you delighted with that? And then are you going now, or has talk already started in regards to what you're going and thinking for next year?
Yeah, well, we had a great start to the year, and we lost our manager halfway through. Went to Derby. So that was a big hit. Like, even we were a little bit all over the place then. He'd been there for 6 or 7 years. So we got that new gaffer in, and when you have a change like that midway through the year, you just want to survive, like, because that Matt Taylor, the new gaffer, we're not really his players, and we've been used to a certain style, and he doesn't want to change certain things. So I know from day one, all we wanted and he wanted through was get us through this year, survive, and he's planned to rebuild. And even on about styles earlier, like, he'll probably rebuild the style. He'll probably change quite a lot now, personnel, staff. He'll probably change a lot, but his goal was get us to the summer and survive. Because it's such a hard league to get into. Like, even the standard quality in League One below, like, the size of the clubs, incredible. I couldn't believe it when I was there. The size of the stadiums, madness. Like, and to get out of that league is so hard. So when you do get to the Championship, you just stay in it. Like, it's nearly easier, obviously, staying in it than it is. But for us, with our budget, with everything, massive. Like, I don't know if you know, but we've yo-yoed something for, like, for the last 6 years, from up, down, up, down, up, down. So to stay in it is the first time now in something like 20 years we've remained in the Championship. Like, so it'll be big for us now as a club, kind of, and they can kind of plan a little bit more long term. You know what I mean? Now that we have a bit of a button, like, but yeah.
What surprised you about the difference between, firstly, League One and the Championship, and then secondly, you're touching on when you went over there and went into League One from the League of Ireland?
Yeah, like, I literally only played 15 minutes in League One. That's all.
Good 15 minutes though.
15 minutes, yeah. So it's all. I don't have that much experience of that,
but even in
general,
terms of structure,
in terms of League of Ireland to that level in England, the demands are massive. The demands are huge, and the amount of games, like last year, that we played something like 50 something games, maybe 52 games, and it's ridiculous. Like, and some lads are literally playing nearly 90 minutes, 3 games a week, 90 minutes, and it's relentless. Like, and I probably wouldn't be. Certain lads are a little bit more efficient, depending on how they're built, how they run. I wouldn't be at all. I don't know if it's my run style or if it's just because I'm heavier and bigger, but I'd be struggling after one game. It takes me nearly a week to recover. But lads can just bang it out, and even at the top level as well. Like, watching on TV, people don't realise that these lads are going to have played 90 minutes 3 days ago. Even you're watching Liverpool, you're watching whoever, you're not thinking, like, how the engines these lads have, and the distance and the pace they're covering, and maybe they're struggling, maybe they have a swollen ankle, maybe they have a broken toe. Like, from the TV, you don't see any of these issues. Like, they'll be dosed up on painkillers and anti-inflams, and it's tough industry, like, and
it's very physically demanding.
Very physically demanding. And the thing I find too hard is the traveling and the lack of sleep, and that all builds and builds, and then you're trying to recover, and it's difficult. Like, and you're in there nearly every day.
Are you getting a coach usually in the Championship?
You're getting a coach, yeah. Some of the clubs fly, like, but we're not. We're near that yet. No. That's kind
of. What's the furthest you've gone?
You go down to Wales. You go down to Cardiff. We're obviously well up north. That's maybe 6-hour journey. Like,
and do you go? You stay?
We played. You'd stay the night before, so we went to Swansea, I think it was, and that was on a Monday night, 8 o'clock kickoff, and you'd stay the night before. You head down on Sunday, train the Sunday morning, head down, stay the Sunday night, play the game on the Monday, and then travel home obviously after the game. You not get home to maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, like. And the buses, well, they're good, but they're not that comfortable. I would struggle to kind of get a decent deep sleep on it. And your structure, your sleep's all, you're trying to not, like, it's all, the whole week's gone. Next thing you have a game in 3 days, and you're, Jesus Christ. But
that's what I was going to say as well, is because, like, you're playing evening during the week, and then on weekends you're prime time 3 o'clock, like, and that is difficult because, like, obviously, what time do you train at? Do you train in the mornings?
Mostly in the morning.
So you're just all over the place in terms of when you're physically ready to go.
Yeah. And Yeah, there's no pattern. Like if every game you knew was always playing at 3 o'clock or always playing 8 o'clock in the evening, it'd be a bit better. Like, but it's all about TV and figures and
In the League of Ireland, because a lot of the teams that you've played with, you were training evenings.
yeah,
You're playing evenings. Did you find that easier?
probably yeah, probably your body was more accustomed to it then. Like
You can't do that in England because there's so many
there's
matches
so
to
much
get
going
through.
on. Yeah, you can't. It's all over the place, but I'm not complaining too much.
No, but in terms of how physical it is and the demands of playing that many games, if you have a smaller squad in the championship or in League One, is it quite difficult to get through all the games because you can't rotate players as much?
It would be, yeah. The squads are much bigger. Like we in the League of Ireland, we have teams with 18 squads of 18, but in Champions this year we met at 28 senior players. Like so, that's the big difference. You need a big squad. You couldn't survive, and then injuries killed us this year, which made it even tougher. We must have 9 or 10 lads out at one stage, and then you're down to the bare minimum. Then you're, you know what I mean. Everyone's kind of walking winded, trying to get people through and get them playing, but. It's you need squad's massive, yeah, huge, especially at that level, championship level. Like.
I always relate. I'm a Leeds fan, so I always related to.
You'll be playing this next year.
Shut up. I always related to Bielsa's Leeds and how impressive a feat that was with such a small squad to play that amount of games.
And the style as well.
And the style and the training style. And it was always going to break eventually. But look, we won't get into Leeds because you'll make me cry. Yeah, exactly. But in relation to when a player gets injured, because I would have arguments with my dad about when players are injured or coming back from injury, that they're not going to be able to output the same amount that they were or to the same standard that they were when they left because they need to be gradually reintroduced. Yeah. Was that a struggle for you this year in terms of with the calf injury and a few niggles, like in and out? Like, is that very, very hard? And do you find that fans don't actually understand the demands of returning to play from injury and how difficult it is to navigate straight back into that intensity?
It is difficult. And what makes it even more difficult, I don't know if you've experienced it, but at that level when there's jobs on the line and you have a couple of players injured and there's a player right back coming back and he's badly needed and your manager's looking at this and seeing the physio saying we need him, get him in, you know, we don't have time to slowly reintegrate him over 2 weeks and build his load, we need him, like we have 6 weeks left then or whatever, that's what do you do then, like, and it's tough, that's why it's not an easy industry to be in for, and I feel for kind of the physios in S&C sometimes because it's all like just difficult to manage, like
damage limitation.
It is, yeah, but we do try and our head of performance or whatever will try and they understand the load and they understand the average load of every player and they understand if he's injured then he can't just go back to what he's they will try and do it, but it's all easy on paper and start a season say yeah we'll do this and do that, but then when the heat of the moment comes and you have 2 injuries at right back and you need to rush John back or it's a little bit like you know, and then next thing you pick something up, but that wasn't the case for me. My calf issue was a little bit different. I tore it back at Bowes at the back end of that season and I probably rushed back to make the cup final, and then I suppose the scar tissue kind of lingered a little bit and I'd done it again the following year. But we had a couple of calls in and we ended up sorting it out a little bit now, I hope. It's to do with the structure. I'm not going into detail, but essentially my calf's vulnerable around certain times of the year around when surfaces change. So and our training pitch tends to be a little bit soft and literally to the week that I had the exact same calf injuries year to year, like, and so that's something that we're just gonna have to really manage when surfaces change. I need to take an extra day or 2 off. Massively focus on covering on that calf particularly. Try and manage little things. Actually, you do pick up and you learn your body as you go, like, but yeah, it's to do with the biological, like the formation of blood vessels within my calf. Supposedly is very strange, and I was just told throughout my career I'll have to just really watch it, like that on that soleus muscle on my left side. But
does it impact your reactivity off that leg then, and how quickly you can get off the floor.
It doesn't, and I'm not weak. I'm both calves are relative equal strength.
Is it your recovery then?
Potentially they and like we were on Zoom call with the expert in Barcelona, Slayas, world expert, and I literally asked him like, what, so can you give me like, tell me what to do here, like, and he laughed and said there's very little you can do, like there's very little. You can have the strongest, most robust calves, they can still, like this Slayas can still go. It's a strange muscle, this muscle, the Slayas. But yeah, so it's frustrating in that sense. Like I'd love, you can just tell me what to do now and I'll do it. I'll bang it out for the next 8 weeks and I'll get strong and I'll get it. But he said that's not the case, like, which is frustrating. But
that's what my question was. It sounds very frustrating. Yeah. Like, does it affect you mentally a lot when you're going through that rehab process and trying to get back?
Not too bad. We have a good group there, like but
and a lot of you injured, so you're all doing rehab together.
As in the physio room, Jesus. But no, it's not, and to be honest, it wasn't too long. I haven't dealt with a long injury. I haven't dealt with a 3-4 month injury yet. They've all been like 4 to 6 weeks. Which luckily, touch wood, I haven't had anything serious. Like some lads, ruptured Achilles tendons, been here for months, 3-4 months. That'd be difficult. That'd be much more hard to take. But thankfully, I haven't had too bad yet, so I'm not complaining. Like,
so is one of your big personal goals then to get through a season without suffering a significant injury?
Before that calf injury, I had nothing. I went years playing the League of Ireland with nothing, not even muscle injuries, and I was like, this is great. Like, but yeah, that would be the plan next year. Like people talk about goals and setting and whatever, just trying to setting milestones or whatever, either goals or appearances. But I'd be happy if I could stay fit next year, and I would take that right now. Like, I wouldn't complain,
Yeah, and then see what happens then in the matches. I am interrupting this podcast to let you guys know that we are currently full at Petey Performance in the Petey Performance Premium Pack for online coaching, but I will be only taking on 2 athletes for in-person coaching for the rest of May. So that's all I have available at the moment. As well as that, I'll be only taking on 2 more athletes into the Petey Performance Premium Pack in the online version for June. So if you want to be one of those 2 athletes, then make sure you get in touch as soon as possible. Drop me a message on social media. Just drop me a message with the word coach, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. It would be great to take your performance to the next level. As you know, I'm specializing in strength and conditioning and the development of game speed in team sports, particularly GAA. So if you're struggling with your speed, your agility, or your resilience and your robustness, and you're struggling with niggly injuries, you're coming into championship season soon, and you want to do the prep now to be the best athlete that you've ever been come championship, then drop me a DM with the word coach. And now, back to the podcast. It seems like you have a very rational perspective to your own performance, but even in that rational perspective, you can't prepare yourself for what you spoke about there in terms of what happened in your first game in League One, your first and only 15 minutes, like where you scored that goal, and then you become like, you get a bit of cult status as a player, like, because it's like Georgie's here and he's going to take us to the promised land. Is that difficult to navigate from there? Like, and like, what is your own perspective on that goal now?
It's just I was just mad moment, like, but I know what you're saying around like expectations. Does that build a lot of expectations around fans think? And to be honest, I don't know. I've kind of deliberately managed that a little bit, and the club have managed it, and explained that Georgie's not gonna listen. He's not your savior. He's not your number. He's coming from the League of Ireland. You probably shouldn't even be playing at this level. It's huge jump next thing, and to have that be my opening moment, my first 15 minutes. Like, people still come up to me and mention that goal.
I mentioned it now.
And so yeah, it was a great moment right in front of the fans, like that, and the whole wall, and then the pitch invasion. Crazy. Like, and the sun was roasting that day as well. I'll never forget it. Like,
and your interview afterwards was hilarious as well.
I remember that. What was that?
That was what I. Right. That's how I was made aware, obviously, of the moment was
Right.
you were just, it seemed quite
Like a kid, probably, yeah.
overwhelmed and everything. It was like, this is insane. Like, and it was. So, like, is that a big thing that, like, you are chasing that feeling again in sport? Like, in a way, like when we're playing sport, that is the feeling that we're always chasing. So, like, are there hopes that you will feel that again
to be
sometime?
honest, I don't know if you can ever, like, lads, majority of lads go through their careers, 10, 20-year careers, never getting a moment like that. Like, even strikers, never mind centre half. You don't get moments like that. But I've been lucky enough as a striker to score some big goals, and them moments are hard to explain to anyone who hasn't or doesn't play kind of sport at elite level in a crowd with 10, 20,000 people. To score a goal and the release, it's like euphoria. It's great. It's hard to explain it. You know what I mean? Everything kind of goes into a little bit of a blur, and you lose. You kind of lose all sense of what's going on. Next thing it's flashed. Next thing the game's over, and you're thinking, what? But it's surreal, like,
That was going to be my question. As a striker, obviously, you're so focused on scoring goals. Are there some goals that are different to others, like in terms of how they make you feel, or as a striker, is it always the same feeling when you get in the back of the net?
Like, that feeling was completely different to if you score a consolation goal, or if you score a goal. It doesn't really matter. You can sense the tension in the crowd, and if you're at home, like, and it's a nervy game and it's getting late. Even some of the goals I scored at Bowes, one in particular was there was the FAI Cup semi-final. We hadn't reached the cup final in years, and we should have had. I missed a penalty in that game. Like, all these things add to the tension,
the story,
and then the feeling. Then if you do, it was like 90th, 88th minute, 89th minute when I scored the bit of the head. Like, oh god, and I was mayhem then. But like, I've had a lot of these moments. Even just thinking back now, I'm really lucky. Like, God.
Are you, as a forward in GAA in football and as a striker, do you reckon you're addicted to that feeling?
No, I wouldn't say I'm addicted to that feeling. No. Like, if I had to start tomorrow, if I never get one of them more feelings again, it'll not. But I'm just more grateful that I was the one that I can get to experience them. Like, other players, as I said, have unreal careers and never get them kind of moments. But no, I wouldn't say I'm addicted. No, thank God. That'd be a rough addiction, because they're hard to chase them. Like, geez, they're not easy to get.
No, 100%. But I reckon
accent.
some players
Maybe,
are.
yeah,
like,
yeah. But no, that's.
Have you heard the story about? It was on Gary Neville's podcast about Ruud van Nistelrooy when they won 3-0 and he was pissed off because he didn't score.
Right. No, I didn't. Yeah. No, I think that's a little bit more linked to like personalities and players, and that's really coming. And you probably see that at elite sport is at all types of sport is like kind of a selfishness and a little bit of arrogance. And I think it's common. Like, I see it all the time, but it's because it's useful. It's because it's useful. Like, I know you and David Gray were speaking about, or he mentioned Max Verstappen, and he's a bit of a dick. Like, but you need that. I think a lot of lads, that's valuable at elite level sport. Michael Jordan is the perfect example. Like, I don't know if have you seen that documentary?
Yeah,
I imagine you have.
I've watched it 5 times.
And like, he's unbelievable, probably the best athlete of all time. But he's arrogant, he's selfish, he's egotistical. Like, he's divorced, his kids don't even speak to him anymore. Like, it all comes at a price. There's trade-offs. Like, like, a lot of managers probably would have told me that I need to be a little bit more going through, like, you need to be a bit more arrogant, like, you're a little bit too nice or whatever. Like, but I'd rather I didn't change, luckily enough, and I obviously would have thought at times, like, I need to probably, I need to switch up here, and you can kind of fake it till you make it a little bit, like, and I know lads do that, but
I don't think it has to be arrogance though. I think it's how competitive you are. And within being competitive, there is a piece of that you need to believe that you are better than your opponent.
And I think that has to be, you can try and fake, but that has to be authentic. And I think that has to be a little bit of selfishness, like, to reach that elite of the elite, because you have to deal with so much pressure and self-doubt. That's where that stands to you, and that's why the best probably are, like, a little bit like. And are they great? Are they great people? Are they great fellas? Like, I don't know. And is it worth that trade-off? Like, is that worth? I don't know.
I get 100% what you're saying, but I think it's not a one size fits all as well. Like in that,
No.
I don't think they all
No, there will be
getting.
edge cases. There will be
Yeah.
people who can manage it potentially, but
You're one of them.
yeah, like I didn't want to, and I just had accepted it that listen, if I don't play at a top level, that's fine, and that's. But I wouldn't rather. I would rather. I don't want to change who I am, like just to be a better footballer, like to to make it to a better level. And I still think that I could probably get to a higher level if I was a bit more good and a little bit more, you know.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the reason, and one of the reasons that you've done so well, is that you hold that perspective that I'm just going to go out and do my best, and I'm not going to pile loads and loads of pressure on myself. So then there's an ease with that everything that has come to you, every opportunity, you're grateful for the opportunity. It's not a thought pattern that's like maladaptive and you're thinking, I better not fuck this up, like, or I better not miss. You're like, when someone crosses the ball in, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to score this. I'm going to put it in the corner rather than better not put this wide.
It's a little bit of, it's linked with like expectations. Like my bar's been really low because, as you said, I was a late developer. I never expected to. I didn't expect to play League of Ireland. Never mind playing the championship and score goals in the championship. Like, so everything's a bonus. Like, if I, you know what I mean? If I like, I'm not putting pressure on myself to go and score 10 goals in the championship. If I score 1 goal, it's a bonus. Like, I'm like, Jesus, I'm here. Whereas there's lads who are like, I need to be a Premier League player. I have these expectations of you need to be at a certain place, and that's that can be detrimental. Like,
if you're always chasing it, it'll never come, really.
Yeah. But
so do you think that's one of the benefits of being a late developer, is a more leveled and balanced mental approach to managing your own and other people's expectations?
Potentially, yeah. It's been valuable to me. Like people would say, oh, like you're not reaching, you're not striving. Like I've never, as I said, like I've never expected to play at the level that I've played at. And then when you do get there, you're like you are so much more grateful, and you're able to have more admiration for everything that's happening, the facilities, every ground I go to, I'm like, Jesus, it's like and the crowds or whatever. Whereas compared to like a lad, most of the lads on my team there at the minute will have came through Premier League academies with the expectations of I'm gonna be a Premier League player. Like I could play for England. Like all these lads come through United and Chelsea, whatever. So maybe playing the champ for them was just a little bit like, oh, sure, I could have been playing the Premier. Expectations are massive, like in all forms of life.
But you can only deal with what's in front of you.
Yeah, and that's why if you have people think, oh, you've low expectations, you're not striving, like you're not reaching. But at the same, while I always never expected, I'd always work as hard or harder than anyone else in that moment. And I'll do whatever I can. It doesn't mean that that I'm not striving in that sense. Like you still work and you can still do what you need to do. That's the most important thing, rather than having these big dreams.
Well, you can have the dreams, but you just can't let them overwhelm what you're doing or impact what you're doing. Like you can dream of playing in the Premier League and getting promoted to the Premier League, but ultimately you can only control your effort level and what you put into this next training session or this next game. If you start focusing on the outcomes all the time, that's when you miss. And that seems like something that you're very good at, is staying in the present moment and focusing on and controlling what you can control. Is that different from some of your teammates?
Probably, yeah, probably. But
do they ever get frustrated with that with you?
In what
sense? In that they're like, oh, we need to get these amount of points to stay up or whatever, and you might be thinking, yeah, but we've a match weekend, we just need to win the match weekend.
I wish I was as stoic as that, but I'm not either. I'd be just as worrying about games and points and relegation too. But everyone's different, and everyone has different strengths and attributes. As I said, like I don't think my mindset is optimal in elite sport. I really don't like.
It's optimal for you.
Optimal for me, but as in, I think that someone who's has a little bit more self-confidence, a little bit more, I'm not calling it arrogance, but self-belief, And as that type, more extroverted as a person, they're much more suited because you can deal with mistakes quicker. They can, things just wash over them, and it's not. Whereas I'd be a bit more of a thinker, a bit more of a warrior, like to an extent. Um, but yeah, it's all. But as you said, I've carved out a little an alright path for myself, so it's all relative. Like, you
It
know.
sounds like there's a great deal of self-awareness there. Like, has that happened over time, or is it something that you're focused on? But there's one thing that I did notice, and it's that on almost every podcast, you mentioned that you believe that you're limited as a footballer. Do you
Right.
think that might be holding you back a little bit?
I do, yeah. I think that's probably my biggest weakness at the minute. But as I said, I'd be careful around trying to not change too much who I am, like, because I don't really want to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sacrifice. There will be trade offs, like in regards to who you are as a person, and I don't want to. It's not football's not that important to me. Like, it's not this. I don't. It's not worth um the potential negative. You know what I mean, in regards to changing my character. But yeah, what was the question again?
Well, it's more so around the self-awareness, but that's thought process like that
Yeah, that I
you
mentioned.
tell yourself you're a
Yeah.
limited footballer.
No, that is a weakness of mine that you think I'm maybe just, or I'm using that and constantly saying that to maybe, no, but that's a weakness of mine that I probably do need. Something that I will try to do now is work on that a little bit more. Not to be as caught up. I'm very neurotic. Like, I would think about things. I would think through things. And as I said, I think you're much more. It's beneficial to be just like water off a duck's back, like, with mistakes, with issues, with pressure, with whatever it is. But that's somewhere that I can try and, as I say, if I can manage it, slowly try and progress that. Like,
Because from an outside perspective, you're playing in the championship, like you're League of Ireland player of the year, footballer of the year. So despite what you believe
even
about
at that, there's
yourself,
still imposter syndrome. Like,
yeah,
yeah, still, like,
majorly.
yeah. And it's funny, you would think with, and I have got a little, but you'd think with them successes that would leave you, like, but it doesn't really. It doesn't really, and it's probably fueled a little bit too by the type of player that I am. Like, as I said, I'm a physical lad who'll just run and head it and get in the box. Whereas
But that's
I know
football.
that's a strength, but it's, you know what I mean. It's not the beautiful, nice, lovely footballer who has nice touch and dribble, control, and pass. You know what I mean? Like, so there's always that.
Yeah, but who cares?
That's what's football. Like, I know who cares, and that's the attitude that you try and tell yourself. But it's that probably feels it a little bit. But listen, I'm not too bad. I'll get there.
I'm absolutely grilling you here. But in terms of the mindset shift and the mindset change, do you see a difference in the mindset of a championship footballer versus a League of Ireland footballer?
No, no. You get that at all. No, the same at all levels. There'll be lads at League of Ireland who are mentally just as tough and as strong as lads I've seen in the championship. It's just difference in a little bit of, I don't know, ability and luck and different. It's fine margins. Like, a lot of good players in the League of Ireland, but no, I wouldn't say I noticed that. No.
So it's easy and seamless to go into a new dressing room because you've bounced around from a lot of different dressing rooms. Have there been any that you've fitted in or felt like you fitted into more, or are you pretty easy?
No, I would be fine. Yeah, no, I never really struggled with that. Like, I'd be quiet, kind of introverted fella. But no, I would have never had no problems. And luckily, I was kind of worried about, you're playing when all you've seen is the League of Ireland. You're playing whatever you're playing, and I've been around a few clubs. I was thinking I'm going to England here, and it's going to be completely different. The groups, I'm going to deal with these English lads here, whatever. It could be different to your typical Irish lads, but they're grand, good group, and a good, real good setup, man, and good people. Like, so that helps. Like, it's fine, not an issue.
Because there's a few of you Irish lads in the dressing room, obviously, and a lot of Irish players thrive in the championship. So I wanted to ask you, like, why do you believe that is? But obviously, there's a direct correlation there between like the mindset it takes to make it in the League of Ireland and the mindset it takes to make it in the championship. It's just maybe a difference in ability.
Yeah, I think that's all it is potentially. Yeah, I don't think I don't think there's substantial difference in mentality, and that's relevant. Really, I don't think so. But who knows? Who maybe there is. I think it's just more gradual and steps and quality. And you do see a lot of Irish players in the Championship, and I think it's because the Premier League's probably got so strong in the last 10 years with foreign influence, foreign players. It's harder for the best Irish players now to maybe play regularly in the Premier League, which is probably why it's kind of flooded a little bit down towards. But there's still some serious talent there. Like,
Do you think it's a stylistic difference as well, though, slightly, in terms of, because there's always been huge amounts of Irish players in the Championship, and they've always done very, very well historically.
Yeah, there could be a little bit of it that suits Irish players, that kind of, that style, and rough and ready and fast and hard working and aggressive. Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
So, like, obviously there are a lot of similarities, but what are the things that you don't miss about the League of Ireland, if anything?
The stadiums is what I don't miss. God, the comparison, the big people talk like about the biggest difference in the biggest stadium. Like every 30 miles in any direction you go, you'll get a 30,000 seater stadium in England in the middle of nowhere, like in this, and beautiful stadiums, like, and whereas Ireland we're struggling infrastructurally, like,
and the pitch, is there a big difference?
Surface levels a bit, like, you astroturfs, as I said, in Ireland, like, and obviously that's not allowed, but and the standard of quality of pitches and everything, dressing room, the whole general infrastructure is night and day between that level and Ireland. Like, for example, like Reading went down this year, got relegated, and their stadium is probably the best, and that's probably the best atmosphere I've seen this year. Like, it's 30,000, a beautiful stadium and beautiful. The whole thing is unreal. It was unreal, and they're down to League One now. Like, and so even look at some of the League One clubs. Look at some of the League Two clubs. Bradford, 25,000 every week in League Two. And like, you're looking at the, Dundalk Stadium, you're looking at these stadiums then, Droghed's that are rough and ready. Like, that's the biggest hurdle now for the League of Ireland to get over, I think.
Are you overawed every week that when you go in and the rest of them, a lot of the other players are just thinking it's the norm?
This is normal for them, yeah. Well, they've come through academies, like, and played probably as kids. Yeah, every week. I'm going, Jesus. Like, let me say, my
Can be away dressing room.
Yeah, like, look at this. But no, it is serious, and the players you're coming up against, teams, it's crazy. Like, really.
Do you ever get that when you come up against an opposition player and you're like, Jesus?
Not really, not too much. No. It's just more of a nice thing. Like, oh, that's your man there. Like, I got a good chat with James McLean. We played Wigan there at the weekend, and like, these are players that I grew up watching. Like, so it's nice. Like,
and you just realize that they're a normal person then when you're chatting to them, I suppose.
Yeah, we tend to put them on pedestals a little bit, like, but yeah, nice people.
I would say you have quite an admirable character. Like, and I know a lot of the podcasts you've been on in the past have said that you set a very good example for younger players coming through who have aspirations of going on and making it as a footballer, in relation to how studious you've been and pursuing that aspect of your life. Is that something that just came naturally to you because it was instilled in you from a young age, and it's just the person that you are? Or
yeah, I think it's probably tied in with the fact that I was a late developer.
Yeah.
That's helped. Like, if I was, I'm not like, my family would be the same. Obviously, we all of my brothers and sisters all went to college and whatever, and got their degrees. But like, if I was 16 and I was a high prospect and Man United came in for me, wanted to take me across, I probably would have went. Like, I wouldn't have been very hard to turn that down, or to turn your kid down at that age. So I just feel lucky that I developed that a little bit later. It meant that I kind of had to, not that I had to, but I got to go to college, develop that, played at UCD, which was huge for me as well. To study and play at a decent level when I was 18, like, which is rare. And that's and that all tied in. Then I got to do that masters as well, which was nice, something to fall back on before I did get across. Like,
do any of the lads quiz you on that side of stuff? Any of the younger lads?
A little bit. But it's rare in England for them when you're in the academies and everything's brilliant. Like, and they're training every day and they're getting these contracts and they're getting paid 15, 16. very hard for them to say, I'll go and do a 3-year degree. Like even now, lads are like, one of the boys that asked me there, he's 30 and he was thinking about wanting to do something. Like he was like coming to the tail, like looking him thinking about trying what after football, and he was saying that he was looking at degrees and he would have to do it part-time because he's still playing. It's like 7 years it was going to take him to do an undergrad. I was like, God, thank God I have mine, like, because that is, it's a task that, like, and it's a commitment just for an undergrad. I have that and a master, so I'm just lucky that I'm in the perfect situation. But I don't know, again, I'm just lucky. Like,
There's not much time as well for the studies. Like if you're playing on a Wednesday and then playing on a Saturday as well, and training during the week.
The big one is recovery.
Yeah.
Like that impacts your recovery. Like I was at Bowes, I was in the middle of that masters, and like you just want having to focus on stress and worrying about an exam or an assignment. That impacts recovery like massively. Oh, I find it impacts your sleep, and it all ties into one. It's very, very hard to manage. It's not, people think, oh, they're only training in the morning, they're in 9, they're home at 1, they've all evening to work. But it's
decompress.
You need to decompress. You need to, because it's so difficult, so demanding. But luckily, I have that behind me now. Like,
my advice to any of those players is to do a sports science degree like me, and there's not as much stress involved in it. It's all things that a lot of them will know already.
It's relative to, like,
but maybe they don't want to work in football when they finish, which is a difficult one to navigate, I suppose. But in relation to, like, you come from a big family, all very studious, a lot of them going on to third level education. What are the key values that were instilled in you in a young age, do you reckon, from your parents to be very ambitious in terms of your education?
It was never drilled into us that we had to go to college. We were free to do whatever we wanted. There was no pressure put on us in any way. I think sport probably played a big role in it, if I'm being honest, when I think about it. Like, we were all playing all sports. We were all, one stage we were all big into athletics. We're all running for Finn Valley up in Donegal, Finn Valley AC. And I think that's a great sport to build that bit of mentality and drive in people and kids. Like, that, you have to suffer. Like, athletic cross country running is tough going. Like, and some real good lessons in that. Like, and my kids will definitely be at it, hopefully. But it does set up a real good structure for kids, like sport in general, and competitive, and understanding if you work, you can get things, and then there's rewards, and certain things are controllable. Like in life, you can go and life doesn't happen to you. Like, you can make whatever, you can make what you want of it. But so that was probably one. It was kind of a hands off, go and do the carters all around the country, and but yeah, so grateful for that. Like,
so what did you see in them, I suppose, that you were trying to demonstrate in terms of, it sounds like they were very available to you and they drove you around everywhere that you wanted to go, which is hard when you have that many kids.
Yeah,
and
you had a big, like a minibus.
Obviously very hard working as well then, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they were, came from rural Donegal. You can't not be. Farmers. My dad was a farmer. Both sets of family. So yeah, and that's probably a little bit of it's been instilled in us then. But listen, I don't want to be talking too much about it. There's nothing special. They're not doing anything. It's just kind of organic, and let us go and let us run about and
make your own choices.
Let us be.
But that's probably it.
Yeah,
that's probably why you are
the opposite. The opposite is like the helicopter parent who's overseeing everything, and this, and don't let him do this, and that's too damn, wear this gum shield, and just that's probably the opposite end of that spectrum. Whereas we were just let run around, and it was a bit of chaos, like. But yeah, you get a bit of order from that then. Like, it was.
Do you think it benefited you to have the choices to play all those different sports and participate in all those different sports?
Yeah.
And it maybe didn't come into a realization effect until your later years when you started to play soccer at a high level?
I think the even the scientific consensus are kind of changing around that at the minute. Like, the early specialization has been kind of scrutinized. You know, kids been brought into football at 5, and that's it. That's kind of, I know, even just you probably know more, like biomechanically, it's even better for kids to be doing all different sports and rolling around and jumping around and running and but doing gymnastics, doing whatever. Like, and then as they get older, then let them pick at a bit of an older age. Like, I think it helped me. It helped me physically. We've touched on even the GAA, how it helps me. Athletics probably helped me. I don't think I would have made it as a soccer player if I didn't have that. I think my main attributes are physicality and a bit of an athlete, like, and then I can whatever somehow get on the end of things. But it's definitely helped me massively. Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about it a lot, like in terms of
Mm.
it gives kids and gives young athletes different solutions to movement problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a video up last week of Alan Tynan, who played rugby to a really, really high level, and is now playing GAA, and he played with Tip against Cork, and he was sidestepping players for fun, like, because
Football or
he plays hurling.
hurling? No?
Yeah. He was on the footballers as well. Now he's a bit of a prodigy, like he was on everything. But then when he breaks the tackle, he's so powerful running away and so powerful linearly that it's very hard to stop him once he gets going. And he's more comfortable in contact scenarios because he has that experience as well.
That's the perfect example, yeah.
Yeah. So like, we shouldn't be limiting kids to playing just one sport. We should be giving them multiple opportunities to do whatever they want, essentially. Now, I was given choices to do whatever I want, but I just picked all ball sports because I suppose that was what I enjoyed and what I was good at. But I think there's definite opportunities to give kids and give young athletes more freedom if you give them more freedom for expression within those sports and give them more opportunities to move in different ways and try different things. And you'd be surprised what you see happening, like, in terms of, I know I've put up a few videos and now some of my lads are throwing goose steps in training, like, and they'll probably get done for overcarrying in the championship is the only thing. But like, just because it's been done one way before doesn't mean you have to do it that way all the time.
You're surprised how relatable and interchangeable all these movements and sports are, like. But yeah, the other side of it then is, especially in soccer, when it's a world that's so competitive and there's so much money involved in finding players early and getting that player in the door for you, that's just like a race to the bottom then, and it keeps getting lower and younger, and that can seep through into other sports then. But even I know in Donegal and Harps, not to be thrown for Harps, I'm sure all clubs are doing it, but like, they're, let me say, under 12s or under 13s are maybe training 4 nights a week, and the players are banned from playing. I know this because it's my local club. They're not allowed to play GAA. Like, I was thinking, that's not, like, they want to just go play with their mates from school, play a match, and they're not letting them. Like, they're being threatened with maybe getting whatever, being thrown off the soccer team, whatever. Not the way to do it. Like, you know, it needs to be much more open and give the kid a little bit more choice. It shouldn't be that structured. But anyway, listen, who knows?
I agree. And it was something that was surprising in my last podcast with Zach. Like, he said, as a club, we're competing with other sports. And I don't think that's a useful way to put it, because sure, if they're playing GAA on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, that still leaves them Monday, Wednesday, Friday to try something else.
Yeah.
And even
it's defensive mentality, kind of all clubs have it, like, you're right. Yeah.
And the major problem in this country isn't that young people are playing too many sports. It's that they're not doing anything.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Will you go back playing GAA ever, do you think?
I'll train now. The next, if I'm home in Donegal, I'll do a bit of training. Yeah. Oh, I'd love to if I retire early enough. Yeah, I love the GAA. I love everything about the GAA. Like, God.
Have you gone back training at all yet? And do you find that you're missing something that you had previously?
Missing in what? What do you mean?
In terms of, like, you know, if you have been playing, if I was playing rugby and then I went out to play a GAA or a Gaelic football match, I'd be knackered because it's totally different
It
fitness.
is
Like,
different, man. Like when I was home this time last year, I was flat out training with my brothers would play at a local GAA side, and I'd be flat out training. But no, I felt like I felt better than
you were
I
more
felt like I was
aerobically fit.
a better footballer than I ever was. I was like, what's going on here? Because I felt a little bit sharp. I know that they were only maybe in pre-season early stage of the season, so I was peak. I was flying around. So but now I miss it. Like it's I love that community vibe where it's all your lads that you grew up with are all out training, and can't beat it. Like
That's what's missing from
that's what's missing
professional
now.
sport.
Yeah, at that elite level
But
now.
that's probably the cost of making a professional. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, but you can still see it. The GA have still held on to it at that, inter-county level. I feel like everyone's still so absorbed in it. It's just it's when money comes in and then things spiral. Like, yeah, the League of Ireland kind of still has a little bit of that community feel, and that's why I think they're thriving a little bit now. Attendances are flying. People that are getting fed up with the billionaires pumping hundreds of million into city, and it loses its authenticity. Like, so yeah, but it's hard to hold on to it, as you say, as you climb the ladder and improve. It can fade. Like,
so we're going to move on to quickfire questions to finish.
go on.
First one is proudest achievement to date.
I would say, just because you mentioned earlier, I would say probably the Player of the Year is a big one. Yeah, that FAI Player of the Year, that was a moment I never expected to be Player of the Year. God. So I'll probably go with that. Like as I said, there've been big moments, goals and stuff. But in regards to being, yeah, that was a big one for me. Something that I'll have now forever. Like,
Favorite athlete of all time.
Michael Murphy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, all day. I often get asked that question over by reporters and I always go Michael Murphy, and they're like, who?
And you have to explain to them at all?
I just let it go.
Let it go. Let them figure out. Go down the rabbit hole.
Google him, yeah.
Yeah. Listen to him, and then he'll be their favorite as well.
Yeah. Some man.
What's the biggest thing you've learned in the last 12 months?
We were talking about earlier about sleep. I've zoned in massively on sleep. Like I knew, obviously, you knew how important sleep was recovery wise, but I didn't know how much more you could eke out of it. Like, I remember listening to a podcast with CrossFit world champion Matt Fraser, talking about sleep. But he's seen it as like a PED. If you can like a performance drug, if you can maximize it, like, and talking about everything he does, and so I became a little bit of a freak around sleep. Like my missus hates me now. But like pitch black, the room nice and cold, earplug, the whole lot, like, and so that's something that I've zoned in on and been a big help. Like,
do you reckon it helped with your return to play rehab from the niggles and the calf?
Possibly, probably. Yeah, it helped even just general energy levels and yeah, just in day to day, even just day to day, I can notice it. Like now, and once you build that good pattern and routine, it's massive. Like then it gets disrupted and you're all over the place. But
yeah, but it's missed, like, I think, by a lot of athletes.
People don't understand how valuable it is. Like, it's huge. Like,
yeah,
but
I don't think you fully understand until you've put together about 21 days to a month of really high quality sleep, and then you're like, oh my god, I feel like a new person.
When you're in, and I do get in them because we have that many games, and I get in that real good run of like a month where you're sleeping good. I think this is great. So it gets disrupted now this off season, so hopefully not too bad.
What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I don't know. I don't really know. This is always like a loaded question. You hear this a lot, like in podcasts, and you have different answers. But as I said, for the type of personality I was always a little bit of a worrier, like a stressor. And a lot of kids, I suppose a lot of young people are like everything seems like it's the most important thing going. Like you're doing your mocks. I was like, oh, this is like, oh, I need that, and then you're in your leaving cert and you're thinking this is, massive. And then you're in college and you're doing your college exams and you're thinking, oh, I need to get it first. And everything just seems so important all the time. Like, and I was the exact same as that. Like, so I'd probably tell myself to just relax a bit. Like, things aren't. It's not as important. Nothing's as important as it seems like, and there's always back doors and ways to get around things. Just breathe, like.
Nice, great advice there for any young person listening to this, and anybody in general, I think. And hopefully we'll see the back door into the Premier League next year, but that might be too aspirational.
Maybe a bit too far.
Too far, but you keep the rational and realistic perspective anyway.
I'll stay level-headed.
Enjoy the off season and best luck next year, and thanks for coming on.
Not at all, Petey. Cheers.